Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Black Man with Purpose podcast. For those of you joining us for the first time, it's a pleasure to have you with us. This is a safe space where we share our thoughts on a multitude of topics in hopes of helping Black males, young and not so young, overcome obstacles and challenges that can be hindrances to happiness, productivity, and success. We believe that through our experiences, successes, and failures, we can have some conversations that might help other Black males in their respective journeys through this thing we call life. On these next couple of episodes, we're going to be offering you all, our audience, and each of us as well, an opportunity to get to know us even better. Um, in this first one of the next few episodes, it will be me and Ray taking our turn at bat. So the first half will be me. Each brother will ask me a question of their choosing. After each brother has asked one question, we'll kind of go back around for them to ask their second question. And then once I've answered all eight questions, it'll be Ray's turn. And then in the next episode, we'll do the same with Brother John and Brother Byron. Brother Rod will get his opportunity in the first episode after our summer break. So, also, it's important to add, I think that each of us will be answering eight different questions. So, in other words, the eight questions asked of me will be specific to me and not asked of anyone else. And additionally, none of us were given the answers to the test, so we don't have any idea of what the questions will be. And so, let's go ahead and jump into this thing, have a little fun.
Question. If you were to take a job, what job would you be terrible at?
I would say probably anything that includes Manuel. Me and Manuel labor don't do well together. So yeah, I don't.
Got a
I
witness?
like doing things that involve, and I'm not trying to say that anything that that involves manual labor doesn't involve thinking, because obviously, oftentimes it does. But um, yeah, I'd much rather be doing something where I'm able to really use my brain and help people in that way, whether it be me learning something or helping someone else learn something or something along those lines. So yeah, anything that involves manual labor. You're not going to catch me being a plumber or doing any sort of crazy thing like that. That just does not work for me. And again, more power to those who do it. I think that's it's hard work, and it's you know obviously a good job to have if you can get it, but it's not for me. That's for sure. Nothing like that. So
So, when would you say the trajectory of your life took its greatest leap upward? And why do you feel that way?
that's a tough one. Because there have been so many instances that I could point to. Um, I might have to
Yeah.
start from the beginning of that with regards to, I mean, obviously it would be easy to say something along the lines of, Kayla's birth or, marrying Felicia or something like that. But I think I would probably have to say when I went in the military because, I had all of these grand plans of being able to see the world and getting an education and all those sorts of things. And the military was going to be, kind of the only way that I could do that. We didn't have money for college and all that sort of stuff. And so, I would say actually doing it, going in the military, that's probably what I would have to point to because, I was able to, where I am now is in no small part due to making the decision to actually go in the military. I've achieved all that I have, and I'm, who I am mostly for making that decision. So I would probably have to say that that would be the answer for me there.
So now that you're in this new chapter of your life, what are some things you're looking forward to in this next chapter of your life?
Oh man, um, I'm very excited about this chapter. Us making that decision to not be tied down and having the freedom and flexibility with regards to moving around and not having a home that we actually own and just being able to go and do as we please. There's so much freedom in that, and it's I think the excitement level for both of us regarding that is pretty high. So I'm looking forward to continuing to do this. I mean, it's only been 7 weeks at this point. and I'm looking forward to being able to get further into this and spending more time overseas. I mean, this year it's all going to be, with the exception of a 1 week period in Mexico later this year, it's all going to be here within the States. And so I'm looking forward to really being able to, spend a lot more time overseas over the next couple of years. And also, growing my business, growing our business, the life coaching business, being able to do that while also having the freedom and flexibility to move around, because obviously that's something I can do from any place at any time as well. So that's what I'm really looking forward to.
So, hey, Kevin, so what part of your life's journeys would you do differently now? Not saying that you're doing now anything is good or bad, but what would you do different now that you see
Nothing.
yourself now?
Not a single thing. That's the way I always answer that question, because, and to some people it may sound kind of cliche, because I think there are a lot of people who answer it that way, but I mean that. And the reason I wouldn't do anything differently is because I would be afraid that I would change something. And it would change the trajectory of my life. And I wouldn't want to do that, because I love who I am. I love where I am in life. I love where things seem to be heading for me in life. And so I wouldn't, if I was forced to go back and change something, I would. And so that's the problem, right? Because if I was able to go back in some instances with the knowledge that I have now, there are probably a lot of things that I would do differently. And I wouldn't want to go back for fear of doing it differently and it changing that trajectory, because I love who I am and where I am. So I wouldn't change not a single thing about my past. Nothing. Hurts, nothing. I wouldn't change any of it.
All right, bro. If you could change one thing about the world, what would it be?
Hate. Yeah, if I could take anything, if it was just one thing, man, I would take all of the hate out of the world, because I think so many of the issues that we have lie in that. Um, so I think that would probably be. Obviously, there are a lot of things that I would love to see changed and would change if I could, but if there was just one thing, and if you ask me the same question next week, it might be different, maybe. But yeah, hate is the first thing that just popped in my head, and it was yeah. So I would say that I think that would heal a lot of the ills in the world. If you were able to eliminate hate, and in some ways, I I almost want to qualify that by adding understanding. I know you said one thing, but I think if we were able to have an understanding, or at least, even if not understand each other, if we could at least appreciate our differences, right? And not fear and hate those things just because we don't understand them. But yeah, I would say hate.
So you're running through the questions pretty quick, by the way.
I know, which is
Almost,
surprising.
almost look.
Man, I
So,
wasn't expecting that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So my next question for you is, so the audience might get to know a little more about you. What would you say are the three most interesting things about you that others may not know about you?
Wow, man, that others may not know. Um,
Take your time.
let's
You
see.
got time. Yeah. We
Yeah, I know.
we
I
got some time to
definitely have
make up,
that, don't I?
right?
Wow. I don't know. I think I'm kind of I don't hide much. Like, I put things out there. So the most interesting, I'm trying to think of one, nonetheless, three things that people may not know. Um,
And some people may know, but
yeah.
most people probably wouldn't know
I,
or
the first thing that
understand.
comes to mind, I guess, for me is because I think everyone knows how much I love to travel. Like, love, 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 love to travel. I think everyone knows that about me. But I have a fear of flying. And I don't know if a lot of people know that know that about me, considering
Hmm.
how much I have flown over the years and will continue to fly over the years. But it's not my favorite thing to do. But my love of travel certainly supersedes my fear of flying. so give me a plane ticket and point me to the plane because I'm getting on it regardless.
Okay.
Let me see. Second thing. Another thing.
I mean, you're a pretty interesting dude, so I'm really surprised that you're struggling with coming up with 3. I chopped it down from 10, but
I'm glad you did. I think the struggle is I'm probably overthinking it because of the fact that I'm trying to come up with some things that I feel people may not know. Most people may not know. And maybe that's a second one right there. I'm an overthinker for sure. I try to curb that as much as I can, but I overthink things way too much, and I'm sure Felicia would agree with that. I'm working on it. I'm trying my best not to be that way, but I am certainly an overthinker at times. Most times, I would say. And a third thing is um, hmm.
all right, y'all, my mission is accomplished here.
Yeah, it sure
Hopefully you
is.
got
Yeah, it sure is. And I think the other part to it too is the fact that I don't want to I don't want to say anything that comes across as being braggadocious either. So I'm trying to ensure that I'm cautious with how I answer it. But
Anybody who knows you would
You
know
just
whether or
you
not you
just
were being
did.
braggadocious.
I know, right? You just did when you came up with the SAT word. I don't want to be braggadocious. You just did it.
I would say maybe the third thing is my love for Jeopardy. Even though I haven't been able to watch it for a bit because we ditched cable. We pretty much only have streaming, and nothing that I stream has. None of our streaming services have ABC. But I'm a fanatic for Jeopardy. I absolutely love Jeopardy. I always have. If I get an opportunity to watch it, I'm going to watch it. Huge, 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 huge fan of Jeopardy. Probably my favorite show, maybe of all time.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. Didn't know
I
that.
can attest to that. You better not call Kevin when Jeopardy's on. Bet not call when Jeopardy's on.
Yeah, I definitely love some Jeopardy. So, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I struggled with that one. That was a good one, Rod. I appreciate that.
We need you to make
like
the
being
struggle because
challenged.
you was speeding through the test. You was like, bloop, yep, hey, B,
Yeah, I
C,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, I like being challenged. So no, that's good.
All right. So, what are 2 ways that you measure success at this point in your life? And be specific, please.
Yeah. Yeah, and I certainly measure it differently now than I used to. No question about that. I mean, success used to be more about, which I would wager to say, well, probably most people, would say this at least early on. Success for me used to be measured by my accomplishments, right? By things, by material things. Well, not so much material things. Material things was part of it, but it was more you know, knowing as much as I could know, getting degrees and doing all those sorts of things. It was about, the things that I could own and prove and all of that. Whereas now it's more about, you know, what I can do for others, I would say. Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I love being a life coach, and I don't know that I will ever stop doing that. I have such a passion for 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 seeing other people live their best lives. And there's nothing like coaching someone and having them asking some question or asking a question in a certain way, and you can just see their eyes light up, like they just had an epiphany based upon the question that I asked. And then they report back later and talk about how, me asking that question and them talking through it really, really changed things for them personally, professionally, whatever the case is. There's just such reward in that. And so I would say success lies in those sorts of things. And if I'm going to be specific, I could even point to to you, John, when you and I when I was life coaching you, and you had a few of those moments, right, where I could just see and hear a change in your voice based upon something that I asked or something that I said. And you even came back, you would come back and talk about how much of a difference that made. So that to me is success, right? Seeing you, um, kind of have that light switch flipped, I guess, and it making a difference in some way for you in your life and in your progression and in your growth. Um, so I would that would probably be the first thing that I would say. And then the second thing I would say is freedom. Like I think I would say that I'm successful in that way too. The fact that Felicia and I have been able to build a life. Before we even met, we were doing little things, but then once we came together, we certainly did a lot of things. We've been together almost 13 years now, and in those years we've done so many things to put ourselves in a position to be able to live the way we're living now, living with freedom, being able to go as we please, and do on our own time, go where we want, all those sorts of things. And so I would say that to me is success as well. And I'm not even saying I'm not even saying that from a financial standpoint necessarily. You know what I mean? Obviously, finances play a part in us being able to do this, but that's not the focus there. The focus is just doing the things to be able to put ourselves in a position, all of the things, whatever those things were and are, to be able to have the freedom to live the way that we're living now. So that to me is success as well. Is success as well.
If you had to write a book about your life story, what would it be titled and why?
Man, one hell of a ride. That would
Okay.
probably be the title because I think it has been. I think about and hopefully the ride has a lot longer to go, hopefully and prayerfully. But I think, and I'm certainly, I don't want to sit up here and pretend that my life has been, you know, just some like it's been so rough or something. Like growing up was just the worst thing in the world for me, because I know there are plenty of people in the world whose circumstances were much greater, much worse than mine. But still, the fact that I grew up in a single parent home in the hood, right, in Newark, New Jersey, and the circumstances would have dictated that I would end up a statistic, like quite frankly the majority, or most of them did, growing up in my neighborhood. And so having um a praying mom, right, growing up in church and having that foundation and having love in my life, and having a good head on my shoulders and having something in me, whatever that thing is that I had it. I've always had it in me. I can't really explain it. I've just always had something in me that felt different from a lot of people. And knowing that I was going to do whatever it took to accomplish, whatever was needed to be accomplished for me to be successful, have a successful life. Even though I looked at success differently back then than I do now, but still, um, just having that in me and having love and all that, but being able to come from those circumstances, right? Being a black male, you know what I mean? As you all can attest to, in this country, in this world. Um, dealing with some of the things that, we had to deal with in the military, and just overcoming all of the different things in life that life has thrown at me, and being able to deal with them and overcome them, and not just by myself. Not going to sit up here and pretend that it was all done, on my own. That's for sure. I mean, it takes a village. We all know that, and y'all are even part of that village. Um, and so, man, yeah, one hell of a ride is what kind of comes to mind for the name of that memoir, or that movie. So, and again, I hope there's a lot more on this journey left.
Yeah.
So,
Well, me and John got a publisher.
yeah. No, but
Yes,
it's
sir.
definitely
Yes,
been
sir.
it's been a great journey, even with all of the, you know, all of the setbacks, all of the whatever, all of the circumstances in general. It's been a really good life to this point. It really has. I can't complain. So I wouldn't, again, as I said to your earlier question, even with all that, I wouldn't do any of it differently. Right? I wouldn't change the circumstances. I wouldn't change any of it at all. Because again, without every single bit of it, I wouldn't be who I am or where I am. So, yeah.
So obviously, our 8 questions didn't really get as deep into Dr. Kevin Danley as possible. So to wrap it up into a pretty bow for us before we put Brother Ray on center stage, man, give us the 3 to 5 minute synopsis of Kevin
And
L.
and and,
Danley.
and
What were you about to say, right? And what?
oh, and we do have bonus questions too. So
Oh yeah.
No, we don't. Producers edit. We don't.
It's Jeopardy. We got bonus questions.
I got
all
other
right,
stuff to do tonight.
got you.
No, man, I think I just summed up a lot of it. But yeah, I mean, for me, to give a 3 to 5 minute synopsis of me is just, yeah, I'm someone who, um, was raised by an incredible mom, single mom in the hood, had a village, fortunately, behind me, and helping keep me on the straight and narrow. I mean, obviously, I deviated a little bit here and there, and but for the most part, I never drifted too far from where I needed to be. Yeah, and I'm someone who just, I have, I think, a zest for life. Like, I love life. I love what it is. I love what my life is, what it's become, what it's still becoming, what it'll be. I love the journey, in general, and I try. I think I'm a lot like, most people sometimes, where I think too much about the destination. I've gotten a lot better with that. I really have. I've gotten a lot better, and I'm still working on that. And I catch myself now, at least, when that does happen. When I start thinking about, destinations, and thinking about legacies, and okay, at the end, what do I want to have accomplished? And instead of thinking about that so much, you have to try to stay in the moment, right? Be in the present moment and enjoy that for what it's worth, and enjoying what the journey has been and what the journey is, and not even thinking about a destination, really, because it's the journey that makes up the destination. You have to stop and smell the roses, and not just think about where you're trying to get to all the time. And that takes time, right? That takes experience, and wisdom, and age, and all those sorts of things to be able to come to that realization, and realizing that it's not all about work, and it's not all about wealth and the sense of money, and yeah, you need money to be able to have freedom. I get that. But life is about so much more than just, and I used to be someone who, yeah, I want to be a billionaire. I want to do this, and I want to, but your priorities change as you get older, right? And you realize that that's not what it's all about, right? It's about, seeing the world be a better place, taking care of your family, and being able to live with freedom, right? And if that means you can do that on $100,000, great. If that means it takes 1 million, whatever. But yeah, I think, and I think I'm getting a little bit off track here, but yeah, I'm just someone who really has a zest and zeal for life, and love seeing other people have that as well, and trying to do whatever I can to help people live their best lives and be able to enjoy their journeys as much as possible as well. So, mm, so that's it for
Awesome.
me. Yeah, your turn.
I got one
Are you
for you.
sweating?
You need a drink? I need a drink. You know, you talk better when you have
I
a
got
drink.
one. I got one. It's not alcoholic, but I got a drink.
I'll start one. I say, so Ray, how valuable do you think it has been to your life growing up in a two-parent household?
Oh, that's a good one.
Wow. The short answer is it has been extremely valuable. Um, Especially when I'm talking to, listening to John's story, listening to Kevin's story, listening to Rod's story. Yeah, I had a praying mother at home, but I also had a hardworking father. You know, I learned a lot of things from my dad that I know a lot of people were longing for. But then there were some things that my dad didn't learn, even though he was part of a two-parent household, that he just did not teach me. But he couldn't teach me because he didn't learn it. But because I didn't see him doing some of the things, something like opening the door for my mom. My dad, he wasn't real big on chivalry. My dad's thing was the way he showed love, and I think talked about this in the first season. The way that my dad showed love was he was a gift giver. Where for me, what I learned from that is that gifts don't mean everything, where a card might mean more, or where flowers may mean more. So, when I show up to my wife and with flowers out of the blue, and she asked me, what are they for? Just because, but I believe having the two parent household was extremely beneficial to me, even though um, my daughter didn't get to experience that. My bonus daughter didn't get to experience that, but it still provided me with life's lessons that I can give them or teach them one way or the other. So yeah, I think that having the two parent household was extremely important, at least in my
Well,
background.
next, what drives you to get out of bed every morning?
My kids. Um, you guys have heard me talk about, and I'm an open book when it comes to my daughter Elise. Um, Only thing I ever wanted to do as a parent was to set a good example for her. So that meant, you know, being in, whether it was being in the military, or it meant being a success. Um, my wanting to be a better man on a daily basis. I want to be better today than I was yesterday. I want to be better tomorrow than I was today. Um, but that's what really drives me. It really setting it the proper example as the older person, 56 years old, setting an example for both of my girls, even though my bonus daughter has both of her parents in her life. My daughter has both of her parents in her life, but they are what drive me. You know, they are what drive me. I mean, that's a real tough one to answer, but my kids are really what I would say drives me to get up out of the bed every morning and be a better person, to be a better man every day.
What are you still passionate about at this point in your life?
Oh, that's an easy one. Helping people. Um, helping people find their purpose. When when the concept of this podcast came up, as nervous as I was, one of the first things I said is, if I can help one person, then this was a success. Then I was a success. Um, Helping people is what really drives me. That fuels me. To get um, I received an email a few years back from a young man named Angelo, and I met him at Home Depot, and he was loading mulch into my vehicle, and he happened to see my Air Force retired sticker on my car, or on my truck, and he started talking to me and saying, I really would like to join the Air Force, and I basically stopped and said, "What's stopping you?" And I talked to him. We stood outside and talked for a good 45 minutes about the benefits of the military and the benefits of the Air Force. And then a year later, I get a message from him on Facebook saying, "Hey, I know you may not remember me, but I loaded your mulch up." And he sent me a picture of himself that he had just graduated from Air Force basic training, and he was in security forces tech school, which is what he wanted to be, was a cop. So being able to help people and to get those messages back, that's what I am passionate about, just being able to help other people. And that was being a recruiter was really my wheelhouse, because I felt like I was helping other people. Being at bureau, when one of you guys, or say Rod or John, would call, say, "Hey, I need this, that, and the other," or one of the other recruiters in the nation call and say, "Hey, I need this, that, and the other," and even if it wasn't my job, I go and make sure that they get what they need to get their job done. That was my passion, and that's what fueled me and made me feel real good about myself. So I'm real passionate about helping people still.
What is the most important lesson you've learned in your life so far, and why would
Mm,
that be?
I could go two directions with that. Um, One thing I would say is, to have belief in myself.
Mhm.
You know, um, that's one thing that, like I said, my dad he always would tell me, um, if you don't believe in yourself, then how in the hell will anybody else believe in you? Um, do the best that you can. If you don't, be honest with people. If you don't have the answer to something, be honest with the person that you're providing the answer to and say, "Hey, I don't know, but let me get back to you." So that was one of the most important lessons I learned in my life. But the second one, um, it comes back to when I got demoted. I counted on somebody to do their job instead of ensuring that they did their job. That was a hard lesson to learn. That was a hard lesson to learn, but I learned it. I embraced it. Um, I took it and ran with it. So even now, I I still trust people, but if I'm waiting on you to do something for me, or if I'm waiting on you to do something, period, I may be a pain in the ass when I'm sitting here asking you, "Hey, well, did you get this done yet? Did you get this done yet? Did you do this for me yet?" But it's because I learned to make sure that somebody does their job instead of relying on them to just do it. I would ask the question, and at the risk of being a pain, I would ask the question to make sure that whatever I need to prevent another screw up like that ever happens again. That was a one time lesson I had to learn, and I learned it, and I will never fail it again. So that's the two things I would say.
If money was no object, what part of the world would you live in?
Hmm. If money was no object, there's a few places I would go. I loved Turkey. I absolutely loved Turkey. If I had been single at the time when I was stationed there, I would have extended for another year. And that was a remote. I would have extended for another year. That's how much I enjoyed that country. Um, but I think I would venture towards Africa. I would venture towards the homeland. I would venture towards South Africa, just to go and see and be amongst where my people came from. If money was no issue, I think I would go live there and try and learn more about my history, my familial history, there. But so I would say Africa would probably be the where I would go if money was no issue.
If you knew it was your last day on Earth, not to be morbid, but if you knew it was your last day on Earth, what are the three things you would ensure you did?
Um, First thing I would do is make sure I talk to all of my loved ones. Um, I'm a firm believer that when my dad got ready to leave here, he knew. I talked to my dad 2 days before he passed. Um, the last conversation I had with him, um, I would definitely make sure I called the people that I love the most and tell them exactly how much they meant to me or how much they mean to me because I don't want it being unsaid. I will call each one of you, to tell you how much you mean to me, how much your friendship, how much I valued you over all these past 20 some odd years. Um, second thing I would do was ask for forgiveness from anyone that I may have wronged. Um, because I have forgiven other folks that I felt did me wrong, and I would ask for that same forgiveness from anyone else that I may have felt like I wronged or may have felt like I wronged them, because that was never my intent. You guys know me; I don't do anything with malice in my heart. Um, wow, the third thing. I would make a joke and say I'd go on a shopping spree, but I wouldn't get to enjoy it. But retail therapy ain't gonna do me no good at that point.
Speak from your
But
heart, brother. Free yourself.
but like I said, retail
You
therapy
should
ain't gonna
set you
do me any
free.
good at that point. But yeah, that's a really tough one to come up with a third one. I guess I would put the other two second and third, and just make sure I ask God to give me a place in His kingdom. I believe I've earned it. I believe I've done all the things He's commanded me to. I believe I'm still doing the things He's commanded me to as a human being on this earth. But it's still an unknown. So I would definitely, if I knew it was my last day, I would definitely ask for a place in the kingdom. So I think those would be the three things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what does living a life of purpose look like to you on a tactical level?
Well, you would ask me that one. Tactical. Um, wow, that's a hell of a question, John. Um, Actually, I think that the way I'm living life now, I think that is as tactical as I can get. I mean, because I'm making sure that when I'm talking to folks, that I'm trying to meet their needs. Um, wow, that is hard. But I would hope that the way I'm living my life right now is on that level. And like I said, by making sure I'm taking care of others and making sure that I'm helping others find their purpose. Um, wow. I don't want to give you a BS answer, John. That's the best I got right there, bruh. That's the best I got.
If you had the opportunity to work in any profession or job for the longest period of time of your life, what would that have been and why?
Well, the easy answer is I did it. 18 years wearing a recruiting badge. 522 enlistments. I'm not sure how many officer appointments. I'm not sure how many thousands of people I helped. As far as recruiters out in the field. Um, even if being a recruiter was, like I said, that was in my wheelhouse. That was definitely my wheelhouse because I knew I was helping the person that was sitting across from me. I was helping the family of that person that was sitting across from me, helping someone else find their goals and achieve their goals. Um, when I retired, I was going to go be a headhunter for Randstad. And the only reason that I didn't take that job is because they wanted me to start training right away, and I knew I had to be back in Maryland for the pickup of my household goods because Stephanie and I were together, but I was still single, and she had her own job, and I couldn't let her take care of the household goods on her own while I was here in Florida in training. So that was going to be the next step was to go basically from being a military recruiter to a corporate recruiter. And again, it was because I knew it was a way for me to be able to help others find their purpose or find success in their life by putting them where they wanted to be or where they felt that they wanted to be or where they needed to be. So I can't see myself working. I couldn't see myself working in any other profession other than what I was in. I love my time in the command post. Initially I wanted to be an air traffic controller, but I was right exactly where I was supposed to be. And like I said, wearing that recruiting badge for 18 years, to me that affirmed I was where I was supposed to be. Now, the only other thing I could say is the only people I could even work for at this point now would be my girls. I couldn't see myself working in a corporate setting because I know my mouth is going to get me in trouble because I don't start anything, but I don't back down from anything. I will finish a conversation, and it may not be the prettiest way to handle things, but the only people I could even fathom myself working for now would be my girls. So that's because I want to help them build their businesses. So yeah, I think that would be the best answer I could give you, Rod.
45 minutes. That was short and sweet. I think that's 45 minutes is probably the shortest we've gone in a while, and I think the audience will appreciate that.
I think the producer
Keep
will
it short with
appreciate
it.
it.
So yeah, right. That too, for sure. And maybe more so than the audience. So, but that was good.
Nah, man,
I
don't put
definitely
that on
enjoyed it.
me. I always like it when we have a good show. Well, one of our longest episodes was one of my favorite. Yeah, so
Well, we look forward to the next episode when Brother John and Brother Byron will get their turn at that. And so, with that, we want to thank each of you for taking the time to join us. As we wrap up this week's episode, we want to leave you with a quote from author, lawyer, coach, and motivational speaker Iyanla Vanzant, who said it's important that we share our experiences with other people. Your story will heal you, and your story will heal somebody else. When you tell your story, you free yourself and give other people permission to acknowledge their own story. Until next time, peace.